So CNN is, again, still melting down over the prospect that people might actually have freedom of speech on social media. You think I'm kidding? Watch this.
No, I think there's a bigger problem that when we focus on the personalities of people like Elon Musk, and people say, oh, I think Elon's thinking this or that. There's a bigger problem here about how we are going to control the channels of communication in this country.
Did you hear that, Kurt?
Yeah.
He said the bigger problem is how are we going to control the channels of communication in this country? How are we going to control it?
Yeah. Do you see on the bottom where it says Elon Musk won Twitter, but can he win over users? That's a misprint. That should say, can he win over controllers?
That's right. That's right. Right there.
This guy right here. Can he win over David Zarowik?
David Zarowik. He's a professor of media studies. That at some place called Goucher College. Doesn't that scare? Where do they find these fucking guys? What a maniac. Well, there's more to what he said. Let's listen. Let's start again.
No, I think there's a bigger problem that when we focus on the personalities of people like Elon Musk, and people say, oh, I think Elon's thinking this or that. There's a bigger problem here about how we are going to control the channels of communication in this country. In 1927, we had the Radio Act. 1934, the Communications Act. Congress stepped in.
Okay, so he's leaving out a lot of things. First of all, he's leaving out the 1996 Telecommunications Act, which took us from 50 giant media companies down to 6. So now it's all controlled by a handful of billionaires. So we have a power center in our media that's controlled by a handful of people. So he's not telling you that. And also, the reason why we had those things, those kind of acts back in 1927 and 33 or whatever he said, was because we had to regulate the airwaves, which are limited. The airways, which are limited and owned by who? The people. So that's why the government had to regulate the airwaves, because they're owned by everyone and they're limited. Has nothing to do with Twitter, Facebook, so he's conflating. So this is a guy doing propaganda, and he's good at it because he's a professor of media studies, which means he knows better. Which means he knows that the media is already controlled by a handful of billionaires, and they just don't like this one guy. Okay, here we go.
Made rules. FCC wasn't great, but it's still regulating the broadcast industry. You can't use vulgar language. You can't do all these things with speech. We gave over our what amounts to our airwaves or our internet waves to Mark.
There's no such thing as an internet wave.
Gave over?
The internet is unlimited. I'm pretty sure anybody could start a website unlimited.
What does he mean we gave over? Like, there was no... They started these companies. He started that company.
There's an internet. He started... we didn't give over. They started a social media company. Their platform caught on. That's all. Lots of people start lots of social media platforms. They don't all catch on.
He screwed over the Winklevoss twins fair and fair for that.
That's fair. It's fair and square.
Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. And we are in so much trouble because those guys believe in making money. We've already seen that.
Well, as opposed to you or any of the people on CNN, they don't believe, because this guy, I don't know if you know that, but he when he's not teaching college classes on media, he goes to Calcutta and donates his time.
Oh, really?
That's because he doesn't care about making money, Kurt. Along with everybody else on that panel, none of them care about making money. That's why they're on television on $1 billion TV station that just spent $300 million trying to start a subscription service, because they're not into making money.
Well, I think the status and power are even more important than the money.
That's right.
Control is what he's in it for.
Okay, here we go.
The 2016 election and Zuckerberg, when he was taking rubles for ads from Russia and say, oh, I think it's crazy to think they had any influence on this election. Musk is the same. Musk doesn't want it. He's upset.
Bring the Pfizer commercial now after he said that. Please play the fucking Pfizer.
Yes, right?
With the SEC, how dare they question him? You know what I'm saying? This is dangerous. We can't think anymore in this country. We don't have people. No, I'm serious. We don't have people in Congress who can make regulations that can make it work. I think we can look to the Western countries in Europe for how they are trying to limit it. But you need controls on this. You need regulation. You cannot let these guys control discourse in this country, or we are headed to hell. We are there. Trump
Wow.
opened the gates of hell, and now they're chasing us down.
Wait, we gotta get it.
Trump opened the
Look-
gates out. So just put Trump in there and people will hate it, just like she just did. Just say Trump. Oh, yeah, we hate Trump. Does this have to do with Trump? Oh, we hate it then. Free speech? Does free speech have to do with Trump? Ha, I hate it.
He opened the gated community of hell
Yeah.
and let people. Western. Look at what Western Europe is doing. Are you joking? You know the crazy shit that they do over there. Like,
Yeah, I know.
they don't have a First Amendment. That's why they do wacky things, and that's why, like, when Prince Harry was like, "It's crazy." What did he say? It's absolutely bonkers that we have free speech here. I believe his term was bonkers.
I think he
The
said.
mental health advocate said that, by the way.
So these are people melting down over free speech. They don't want you to be able to say what you want to say on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. That's what this is. They want someone to control what you can say. Airwaves, this is, it's not a conspiracy theory. If it's true, said this, airwaves were regulated because they were scarce. They weren't regulated because government didn't like the content. Well said.
Yeah, he was thinking of the Hays Code for movies. He was confusing them. That guy.
Also, Steve Curley says, translation, our propaganda no longer works, so we have to control what other people say. 100%. That's what's going on here. They have to control what other people say because the oligarchy is losing control. Because why? Because 80% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. Half the country is poor or low income. 50% of all workers make $30,000 or less. And everybody goes bankrupt when they get sick. So their system isn't working. And so instead of changing the system to make it work for people, which is what FDR did, what they're doing is they're not just going to censor, so you can't hear the voices that are pointing out it's crazy to send $33 billion to Ukraine for a war that's unwinnable while we have people sleeping under every bridge in the United States. And that $33 billion could have ended homelessness in every bridge under every city in every state in this union. And we're not doing it. So we have a broken, well, it's not broken. It's working the way the oligarchs want our system, but it's broken in the sense that it doesn't actually work for the masses anymore. FDR made it work. FDR said, I didn't institute socialism. He said, I saved capitalism. Why? Because people were done with capitalism, and he was afraid they were going to institute a Russian revolution. That's why. And he said, if you don't give people some of your money, they're going to take all of your money. And so he got the rich people to give workers some of their money that they earned, that they generated, the wealth they generated. So there's been a decoupling from corporate profits and workers' income since right around 1980. Right? It used to be if the workers produced more profit, they got more pay. That stopped in 1980. So they've been decoupled from each other. And so now all they have is censorship, and that's what this is about. Go ahead, Kurt.
I mean, it's amazing how they all find like 50 ways to say the same thing, which is Trump ruined lying for us.
Yes.
Like, and then if you think of it, it's like same with Amazon. Like the reason a union forms is because you screwed up so bad that people were like, I have to throw in with having a union because I don't see any other way out. It's the same. And then what does Amazon do? They on the app, you're not going to be allowed to say the words union and bathroom on our work chat app. They all do the same thing. It's amazing. It's like a repeating pattern.
I have one more clip that's very similar to this. Let me throw it over to Steph for a second. CNN continues to melt down over the prospect of people having free speech on the internet. That is scaring the hell out of them. And in fact, the Biden administration has created a disinformation bureau, and they put a 33-year-old woman who seems to be out of her mind in charge of it. And they're going to now police what you get to say on the internet, right? And it's called, what is the name of it? It's the disinformation. I'm blanking. Can you look it up?
Yes.
Is it called the disinformation
administration or something?
Or bureau? Right. I can't believe I'm doing this segment.
Or governance, disinformation governance.
I don't
or
have
something?
it written down.
Bureau, Disinformation Bureau.
That's it.
Yes.
The Disinformation Bureau. Okay. And so it's a ministry of truth, basically. So the government, which again you have to remember, the biggest purveyor of lies and disinformation is the government. That's why you need a press. The second biggest liars are the corporate news media, which is why you need independent media like this, who's not beholden to a corporate donor. So we're allowed to tell you the truth. Plus, I'm a comedian. Kurt and I are comedians. We're not looking for jobs inside of journalism, which is another reason why we get to speak so freely, because most journalists are looking for a job from the people they're supposed to be exposing. Billionaires. Okay. So now, here we go. They're going to be talking about Joe Biden starting his own ministry of truth, and they're going to make it seem like you're nuts if you have a problem with that. Watch this.
Here in the U.S., there's been an uproar in recent days about the Department of Homeland Security setting up what they call a disinformation governance board. This has been mostly a Fox World story. It could come up earlier today on CNN.
That's Fox World.
Yeah, it's called the Disinformation Governance Board, not Bureau. So Disinformation Governance Board. Where did you get the Bureau? Where does that say that?
Right here. Joe Biden under fire. That was New York Post. President Biden came under fire Thursday for the creation of Disinformation Bureau.
Okay. So DHS Disinformation Board. And so let's play it again.
Here in the U.S., there's been an uproar in recent days about the Department of Homeland Security setting up what they call a disinformation governance board. This has been mostly a Fox World story.
Immediately, the way he reports it divides the country. So he lets you know how you're supposed to feel about this right at the top. The way you're supposed to feel about this is if Fox News people are saying it, it's horrible. So I'm just gonna let you know how this goes. So if you were worried about the Ministry of Truth, you're a crazy Fox News nut.
You live in Fox World?
You live in Fox World? Yeah.
It come up earlier today on CNN State of the Union, but I don't think people know what it is and what it isn't. And there's just been a lot of right-wing uproar without knowing what it is. So are you aware of this at all? What is this all about?
Aware of it, and I think the first thing is that it's a board, exactly as we say. It is meant to bring together people to coordinate a lot of the efforts inside of DHS. That means law enforcement. That means emergency services like FEMA. They've all been doing counter disinformation efforts for a while to give us accurate information about
the government. Do you hear her? The government is the one giving us accurate information. She's saying that the government is the one that has been combating disinformation and giving us information, accurate. That's what she's saying.
Did you notice he goes, well, I mean, I think people don't really know what it is. Well, yeah, that's because it was real vague when they talked about it. They didn't really say what exactly disinformation is. Also, what she just described isn't easing my fears. Oh, it's just coordinating law enforcement. What are the cops going to pull you over to give you the right information, or what? What's the?
Hey, why? You know why I pulled you over? No, I understand you read some tweets that had some incorrect COVID information, and we'd like to correct that for you here. Okay, here we go.
Human rights abuses, but also about disasters and where people can get assistance.
She said the government is giving you accurate information about human rights abuses. That's what she just said. The government. Oh, really? Are they telling me the truth about, I don't know, Yemen, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Guantanamo?
All the prisons here, but just even like stuff they do here is crazy.
Yeah. How about our prison industrial complex here?
Coordinating that activity, making it speak with one voice, and being a stronger advocate to tech companies and engaging the public and academia, that's really what they're after.
But that sounds like common sense. But when I Googled it.
So Steph has a joke on this show where she says it's called common sense censorship. He just said it. Do you see how hard it is to parody these people? They say the jokes themselves. So now what joke is there left to make? He just said it sounds like common sense. Yeah, that the government is the purveyor of accurate information about human rights abuses. They're the ones who commit human rights abuses, you fuckface. And he knows that. But again, that's why he got hired. That's why he has that job, because he's willing to say that stuff. Because either he's that corrupted easily by the six-figure income, or he's that dumb. common sense censorship. You can't parody these people.
All I see is like Joe Biden's Ministry of Truth, and they're going to steal. You know, like there's this incredible backlash to something that sounds like basic government bureaucracy.
It is basic government bureaucracy, and around the
Oh, that's great.
Oh, it is.
Oh, they're taking my shoes off the airport of speech. Finally.
Yeah. Oh, so this is just basic government bureaucracy, which has the effect of taking away my First Amendment rights on a social media platform. That's all.
It's like when people badmouth Adolf Eichmann. He was just bureaucracy.
Just
He was just
bureaucracy.
planning the train routes.
Yeah.
world, what we're asking for governments to do is to step up more and to play a bigger role in advocating for people.
So do you see how they make censorships? Do you see when you have to dress up censorship? She just called it governments have to play a bigger role in advocating for people. What she means is by censoring people's speech. That's how you advocate. That's what she's talking about. She's not talking about actually advocating for people to get health care or advocating for people to get education or a living wage or clean water. She's saying we're going to advocate for people by shutting people's opinions up and getting them off of social media. So don't fall for her bullshit, slippery, garbage propaganda, which is what this is. This should be censored. You want to censor something? How about this kind of fucking bullshit? Because that's what this is. She's a bullshitter, fucking authoritarian, and that guy's a bootlicker who will fucking do the bidding of anybody who's paying him. And those are the, you want to start censoring, you should start with these two fuckers right here at CNN.
That's just common sense.
That's just common sense. Sounds like common sense censorship. Go ahead, Kurt.
By people, so it's weird to specify people. Like, who else would you be helping? Like, it sounds like what we just make sure we help people. Of course, not the unpersoned. Anybody that we unperson,
That's
of course,
right.
is excluded. The gates of hell, you might have heard earlier.
Yeah.
They will remain outside in the gates of hell, but the people, as we call them.
Here we go.
Litmus test is civil society included? Is the media included? And so far, everything we've heard about the board, which is new and just started, shows us that that is the intention, is to be fully transparent and to...
they're going to be... They're the Department of Disinformation. They're going to be fully transparent. They're here. Do you listen to these people? They're talking about the fucking government. They're talking about the government as if they're some kind of Boy Scout organization instead of what they are.
Department of Homeland Security. The fucking DHS? Are you joking?
The Department of Homeland Security, it sounds Orwellian already. The government is the biggest purveyor of lies, and these people are saying, these are transparent people. They're the best people in the world. No, they're the reason why you're supposed to have journalists, because the government is always lying.
Yeah, who's on the board? She's like, they're including a lot of great people. Well, is Brian Stelter on it? Because otherwise, I don't trust it.
And more from our government in terms of how they protect us from disinformation. And
I don't need my government to protect me from disinformation. Don't need it. I don't need the government to pre-read shit that I'm going to read on Facebook or Twitter and make sure it's safe.
Am I going to cut off funding to Ukraine? Why would it matter at all?
Right? Why would it matter? So, what she's saying is that she wants the government to do more in protecting us from disinformation, which means you pre-reading what you read and censoring it for you so it's safe for you. That's what that means. Holy shit, that's not America. That's the opposite of what this country was based on. This country is based on everybody gets to say whatever they want in the town square. And social media is the new town square, which is why it should be looked at as a utility. Just like the phone company. You can't turn off someone's phone because you don't like the shit they're saying in their conversations. Same thing with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You shouldn't be able to deplatform somebody because you don't like what they're saying. If they're not breaking a law, you shouldn't be able to take their free speech away. What they're saying is we don't want anybody to have free speech, and we want unelected bureaucrats to be controlling what you get to say. Why? Because we've lost control. of the people and the narrative, because people's lives are so horrible now in the richest country in the world that we only have narrative control.
Enable us to have information that protects our country and advances our ability to survive in a major incident, for instance.
You hear Brian? Yeah.
He's such a... it's like, you know, even not the wealth disparity, which is a big thing. Plenty of people all around the world would rather be broke than not be able to talk. Like, I'd rather live in the street than be Trevor Noah. I really would. I'd rather be a homeless guy than Trevor Noah, because it's such a craven, awful way to live. And it's such a, you'd have to be like a Brian Stelter inside to live that way.
Yeah,
you know?
a dead, empty, willing lemming. So I want to play this whole thing all the way through without stopping. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we don't cringe so hard.
Here in the U.S., there's been an uproar in recent days about the Department of Homeland Security setting up what they call a disinformation governance board. This has been mostly a Fox World story. It could come up earlier today on CNN State of the Union, but I don't think people know what it is and what it isn't. And there's just been a lot of right-wing uproar without knowing what it is. So are you aware of this at all? What is this all about?
Aware of it.
What are people doing being skeptical of the fucking department of telling you what to say and shit?
We failed the Stelter challenge already.
I know.
There's no getting through it. He's that much of a...
I know. Here we go.
And I think the first thing is that it's a board, exactly as we say. It is meant to bring together people to coordinate a lot of the efforts inside of DHS. That means law enforcement. That means emergency services like FEMA. They've all been doing counter disinformation efforts for a while to give us accurate information about human rights abuses, but also about disasters and where people can get assistance. So coordinating that activity, making it speak with one voice, and being a stronger advocate to tech companies and engaging the public and academia, that's really what they're after.
But that sounds like common sense. But when I Google this, all I see is like Joe Biden's Ministry of Truth, and they're going to, there's this incredible backlash to something that sounds like basic government bureaucracy.
It is basic government bureaucracy. And around the world, what we're asking for governments to do is to step up more and to play a bigger role in advocating for people. The big litmus test is civil society included? Is the media included? And so far, everything we've heard about the board, which is new and just started, shows us that that is the intention, is to be fully transparent and to demand more from our government in terms of how they protect us from disinformation and enable us to have information that protects our country and advances our ability to survive in a major incident, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, right? So we've gone from the framers of the Constitution to the framers of the narrative, and that's what this is. And they keep saying, protect, we're going to protect. The government needs to step up and protect. You know what? Who says that? Dictators say that. That's why we're censoring a bad outside information to protect you. These people are liars and propagandists, and they want to infect your mind. That's exactly what Kim Jong-un says. That's why they have censorship there. That's what they say in China. That's why they have censorship there. But these people want the exact same thing they have in China. They want the government to control the flow of information. Literally.
You know, Scientology teaches people just not to go on the internet. That's how they deal with it.
Really?
Yeah. This sounds like a church. This is like, I always get flashbacks of like, you know, guard your heart, because the devil wants that. You have to like not even look at a thing that might stumble your faith. You want to see the guy who's you want this guy to be in charge of what you can say and what you can't say on the internet. This is the head of the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. You want that guy to be in charge of what you can say about the fucking government or the Ukraine war or the vaccine or the lockdowns? You want that guy to be in charge of who can say what? Because that's who's in charge.
Efforts underway to equip local communities to identify individuals who very well could be descending into violence by reason of ideologies of hate.
So do you hear what he's saying? We're going to be helping local authorities find people who haven't committed violence, but might. That's called a thought crime.
You know what's even more galling about this is if you think of any of those like shootings and stuff, like Parkland was the big one that was heard about. There's a few others, I think Virginia Tech, where the authorities were it wasn't a surprise. that the people did it, the authorities say, hey, this guy says he's going to do a crazy thing.
Right.
They flat out report the FBI while they were dicking around with their weird entrapment things to get more funding. The Boston Marathon bombers, another one somebody reported, didn't do anything about it. So now you're going to take that to what? Like just tweets where that's unbelievable.
So now instead of them doing, because they failed at regular police work, now they want to censor everybody because they can't do regular police work. That's what the point you're making. Do you want that guy to be the guy? This guy? This is the guy.
This in UK.
This is the guy who's in charge.
We have so many different efforts under.
He sounds like a cartoon villain. We have so many efforts underway to find people who might do violence and get them removed from society.
It sounds like Carvel, remember Cookie Puss?
Oh, yeah.
There's some Cookie Pusses.
We have so many different efforts underway to equip local communities to identify individuals who very well could be descending into violence by reason of ideologies of hate, false narratives, or other disinformation and misinformation propagated.
So anything, any ideology they don't like, any kind of information that they don't like, they'll call it disinformation, and then you're a non-person anymore. Then they'll take down all your videos, they'll take you off YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's what he's saying. Because this person was dangerous and spreading misinformation that could lead to violence.
What if my ideology is I hate Trump? Is that okay? Which hates am I allowed to have?
That hate is okay.
I hate Putin and I wish he was dead. That won't be taken down.
That won't be taken down. And you can love Nazis in Ukraine. That's okay now on Facebook. So it's going to be that guy in charge of it and this woman. Those are the two people who are going to be involved. So that these are the people, the Disinformation Governance Board. Holy shit.
Look at the face she's making.
Yeah.
Look at this Nurse Ratched they found.
That's right.
Lobotomize us.
Okay. There you go. Great work, CNN. I wonder why no one watches. I bet you there's going to be more views on this video about Brian Stelter saying that shit than actually watched him say that. You know that's true. And he's in every goddamn airport in America. We're doing live stand-up shows in Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Des Moines, Omaha, Kansas City, Las Vegas, all over the country. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets. And single tickets now available in all venues. So if you tried to buy one before and you couldn't, single tickets are now available. Plus, while you're at jimmydorecomedy.com, why don't you become a premium member? Sign up to our mailing list so when they cancel us, we can still stay in touch.